This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network, now in its 8th year of talk like you've never heard it before.
Hey everybody, welcome. It's time for the Ramble with me. I'm Alex Bennett. Larry Bubbles Brown was supposed to have a hernia operation, didn't have the hernia operation because they never called him to tell him when the hernia operation was, so he never showed up for the hernia operation that he was supposed to have because he didn't know when he was supposed to. Does that explain it, kind of?
That's it, yes. So
That's
here I
it.
lie in pain. But,
yeah.
Being a trooper, I'll do your show.
Yeah, I have a hernia. I have a rather large one. I mean, so large that my urologist, when I saw him last time, said, "Oh, you have a hernia." I said, "Yeah." He said, "You also noticed I had hemorrhoids, right?" Yeah, okay. So, I mean, it's big enough that other people saw it, but wasn't terrible, so...
But that's a larger one is actually better because the smaller ones are the ones that tend to strangulate. So.
Because it doesn't pop out.
You can't get it back into the hole,
You can't get. Yeah, I can get mine back in when I'm lying
right.
down. So it doesn't hurt. It did hurt for a while as it was starting to protrude, but then it was okay. So I haven't been in pain for a couple of years now from it. So
you're fine.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's all I've got. I've got the esophageal cancer, I'm
you got
sure.
The esophageal.
And I've got, if it's not esophageal cancer, then it's throat cancer. And if it's not throat cancer, then it's COPD. And if it's not well, anyway, that's the kind of wonderful hypochondriac I am. Where on my tombstone it will read, I told you I was sick.
Have you ever noticed, I just heard this recently, and since I was a kid, every year on radio you would hear a story about some university or something that has something that is going to end all cancers. And a year goes by, you never hear about it again, and somebody else has a new one that's going to kill all cancers.
Well, the trouble
it never happens.
The trouble is that all cancers are not the same. I mean, I had prostate cancer, and I had it late on in life, and when you get it late on in life, if they catch it early enough, and I got checked all the time, if they catch it early enough, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
I knock on wood, so far I'm fine. And, so when people say, "Oh, you had cancer," I'm a cancer survivor. I just tell them, shut the fuck up, There are other people who have worse things than I've got.
You don't want pancreatic or lung.
You don't want pancreatic or lung, or you said in the last episode, esophageal.
Yeah, that's just a bad one. You can survive that, but it's just our friend who died of that, Fred Reese. They had to reconstruct a new esophagus out of his stomach material. It was just a very painful, horrible thing to go through.
Oh wow! And then he still died of it.
Still died of it, yeah.
Yeah. How many years was that going on?
I think he was fucking with that for about 3 years, I think.
Okay, so I know I have at least 3 years to live.
You got 3 years. Easily 3 years left.
Do you find yourself reading the obituaries?
I do, because I still get the paper, and I.
Well,
the
you
San
can't.
Jose
You
Mercury
can't.
has a nice obituary section.
Yeah, but you can't get it online because for you to go online, it takes forever. In fact, if you went to download the obituaries, by the time it had been finished downloading on your computer, more people would have died.
More would have died.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, anyway,
I do read the paper, and I always look for. I see this more and more. You always find people that died that were younger than you.
Well, yeah, and sometimes I find that comedians usually die older. You
would think it would be just the opposite.
Well, I think there's a reason for that. I've always argued that there's a reason for that because a person who is a comedian is constantly working, or hopefully he's constantly working somewhere. And that constantly working kind of keeps you alive, When I was let go by SiriusXM, I thought to myself, well, this is the road to death now. Because I don't have to go in every day and do this. I don't have this regular thing I do. And it's going to be deadly for me. But I then started the thing on the internet and so on. And I think that's kind of helped to keep me alive.
You got to do so. A shocking number of people die like 2 years after they retire from their jobs.
Yes, well, because they don't have... When you had your job, you got up in the morning and you had your toast and your coffee and you got in the car and you drove to work and you did your job and then you came home. No matter how dull that job was, it wasn't killing you. It was keeping you alive because it was giving you a purpose, So, anyway.
There always used to be a thing by people always used to say, man, I would love to retire and just sit on the beach all day. And to me, even as a kid, that sounds so boring.
Well, if I could retire and travel the world and have little adventures that way, I think it would keep me alive. I think.
Yeah, but doing nothing will kill you.
I've thought about stopping doing this show because we don't have that many people listening to it. Why am I doing it? And why am I wasting Bubs' time? And I just keep doing it because it's keeping me alive, even if there's a small audience out there. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what's strange, though. I go out every now and then. Marjorie says, let's go out and make one of our videos. What that means is we go out to the park and we sit there and we do a little 5-minute show. And all of a sudden, I go back to look at it, and it's got 1,000 people that watched it. And I'm going, what am I doing right there, but what am I doing wrong the rest of the time? And then I finally decided they like my wife. I've decided she's really the star of the show.
Oh, okay.
So I should use her more often. But I just, let me look at it here.
You got to do that more.
The latest one, which is really strange, the latest one that I did out in the park, and my phone would not turn around, right? So the whole thing is sideways on the screen. And somehow, sideways on the screen has gotten so far, let me see here, let me make sure that's the right amount, 399 views. And we did it yesterday. So anyway, and then I did one. I made it right side up. I finally did it right side up. Now, what did I say it was? 322? Did I say?
399.
399. Okay, the one that is set around right.
No, that doesn't work.
Oh, there's me.
Can't turn your phone.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. I'm looking at it and I'm trying to.
Go.
Okay,
we had a little trouble signing
Stop
up.
it here. Only 72 views on the one that's right side up. It's corrected. I'm amazed by that. So it's my stuff for today. And over on YouTube, it has only 81 views, but the other one, So in other words, I'm over like 500 so far, and that was just yesterday, about 24 hours ago.
Really?
Yeah.
I think you can start making money when you get 5,000 views.
Oh no, I have 5,000. When you get when you get 5,000 views, I make money. I made about $200 last year. Huh?
That's good.
You want
Better
something?
than
You want? I should send you a check. But no. What happens? You have to have over 1,000 viewers before you can monetize it. So I got 1,000 subscribers rather, and I got like 1,000 subscribers, and I monetized it. And so I make money on it, but not much. But if you get 1 million viewers, they'll pay you $4,000. So when you see somebody who has like 16 million views, they made a lot of money out of that one video.
Jesus.
There's this girl, this Ukrainian girl, who plays the violin. She's like out in the street. She's a busker, you could call her. And she's like 15 now, and she'll get 3-4 million on one video. Well, if you get 4 million, that's $20,000 right there.
Jesus.
You know, so all of them taken in together, I think she's probably made herself many hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, I hear these stories about people that make a fortune on YouTube. I don't know.
Well, that's the reason why you see the networks running. Like, why do they put Jimmy Fallon up on YouTube? Well, they put him up on YouTube because they're going to make money off of that. If that gets 1 million views, they'll get $4,000. It's more money in addition to the advertising they made, you know. So a lot of people do that. And
they have to. I just saw he barely gets 1 million viewers on the TV show.
Who?
Fallon.
I think it's more than that. I think it is more than that. But
NBC said they regretted re-signing.
Did they really? I didn't see that.
I thought that was very rude.
They regretted re-signing him. Well, you know, all that network television is going the way of the dodo anyway.
Yeah, and the late night talk shows have been dead for years anyway. But and TV, like you said, TV is dying. So
yeah. Let me ask you, last time we were talking, we ended kind of quickly with Elvis Presley and his manager getting 50% of everything he made.
Yeah.
And I know where he probably spent it because Tom Parker, his manager, was a gambler.
He had a huge gambling problem. Yeah, that's why he settled on getting Elvis that gig in Vegas.
So he could have money to pay off his gambling debts.
Yeah, and so he could keep gambling. You know, they're addicts.
Well, the idea of going to Vegas was not a bad idea.
No, I think he sold out 800 shows in a row there.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was a pretty good bet.
Yeah, it was great.
But by the end, he was like working, you know, the Veterans Memorial Coliseum in Dothan, Alabama. You know, I mean, I don't know that he actually played that, but I'm giving that as kind of a bad example of what was going on. So, you know, I mean, he at the very end, his last concert, you know, his last concert, they broadcast live on CBS, or not live, but broadcast on CBS. And since then, that concert has not been made available, because that's the one where he's extremely fat, sweating while he's playing the piano. Who sweats when they play the piano? All right? They're having to mop him off. And I think he had, I'm sure by that time he had a colostomy bag on stage. Which is great, because if you have to take a shit, you don't have to say, excuse me, folks, I'll be back in a moment. But I almost imagine that when he was singing, he goes, love me tender, oh, love me. He was taking a dump. You know, it's just amazing. But here's my big question to you. Do you ever like Elvis?
I was never. My sister was older. She liked Elvis, and I've just heard some things about him that he's actually kind of a nice guy, and I don't know, but he died at 42. So he was hugely famous when he was 21.
Yeah, yeah. He had more fame than anybody should ever have. And his talent, I don't know. I've said this before. I don't understand what anybody saw in Elvis. I mean, I understand if you want to say Sun Records Elvis, that was some pretty good stuff. Okay, and the first couple of records he made for RCA when he left Sun was really pretty good. You know. And then he started getting into all the ballad stuff, and he was imitating Elvis is what he was doing. And,
right, yeah.
And then he'd make movies, and the only songs he'd release are songs he put in the movie, you know, and they were dumb, stupid little songs. Everybody move your head to the right, everybody move your head to the left, or something like that. I can't remember what the name of that song was, but it was stupid songs.
Yeah.
And the material was horrible. It was actually pretty bad compared to him. And occasionally he'd have a good thing. In the Ghetto is not bad, but it's kind of funny hearing a white guy singing that, you know. And I never saw why he was so unbelievably popular, except that everybody kept saying how popular he was when he wasn't.
Well, I think he was good looking, so women loved him. So that was a big part of it.
Yeah, but that doesn't give you the talent it takes to survive. You know? So I often wondered why people were enamored by Elvis. I actually, I have to say this. I suddenly remembered this last night. I saw him live.
Oh wow! Where?
At the what's the theater in the Civic Center? No.
It used to be the Bill Graham Auditorium.
But yeah, but before that it was called something else.
I think it was Civic Center
Civic
Auditorium.
Center Auditorium. No.
He played there? Wow.
Yeah. And I went with a girlfriend who was a big Elvis fan. She wore a skirt that said Elvis on it. And I saw the show, you know. And you couldn't tell whether he was any good. There was too much screaming going on, you know. But I when I was a kid, I went and saw Elvis. I was probably still in my late teens.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Too bad you don't have the ticket.
Yeah. So I saw Elvis. I saw Frank Sinatra. Who else have I seen live? Oh, the Beatles. The Beatles. We held a concert with them, the radio station I was at in Houston, Texas. And as they ran off stage to go to a armored car that was going to take them to the hotel, I had my hand on the stairs of the stage, and Ringo stepped on my hand. And years later, when I met up with Ringo, I told him this story, and he said, "Oh, sorry." You know. But
So you would know this then. I'd always heard that those Beatle concerts lasted about 20 minutes.
they were, I think, if I'm not mistaken, this one was maybe 35 minutes.
Wow.
But I was watching one the other day that was from that time. And they come out on stage, and all they've got are these wimpy little amps. You know, today people go out on stage, and they've got towers and towers and towers of amplifiers. But then it was just, just like the amplifier you'd play at home. And that was their amplifiers, and they went out and they did about 30 minutes, and then that was it. But no, I didn't get to host that show. They gave that to somebody else. I got to introduce the Rolling Stones back then, and they were playing again the Houston Coliseum, I think it was, and so I hosted a Rolling Stone show. I'm trying to remember, was it Rolling Stones? Yeah, because I really wanted to host the Herman's Hermit show. I don't know why. I was given, hey, well, we can't have you do the Beatles because we got so-and-so doing that because he's got some kind of seniority over you, but we're going to give you the Rolling Stones. I'd rather do Herman's Hermits. What possessed me to say that? But I had to do the Rolling Stones, so reluctantly I did the Rolling Stones.
And did they? I know the Beatles didn't have an opening act, right?
I think they did. As a matter of fact, I think it was some rock act. I'm trying to remember who it was now. No, because you couldn't just charge a bunch of people. There wasn't a big ticket price, by the way. It was maybe, I'd say it was under $10 for a ticket price, but that was big in those days.
That was a lot of money then.
Yeah. So you couldn't do 30 minutes and not have an opening act that played, 30 or another act, a couple acts that each. I think there were two other acts, and I can't remember who they were. So what the hell, It was something to see. It really was something to see. People were screaming and shouting and everything. And they just did their complete set, and then they got in there. It was an armored truck they got into. They got into an armored truck, which then drove them down to the hotel where they got out of their armored truck. And I wonder if that was for show,
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably women found out the hotel they were staying at and were lurking in the lobby.
Yeah, and then there was the show that I didn't MC, the show I produced as a kid. I and a friend of mine, we we decided we wanted to get into the rock and roll business, the business of rock and roll concerts. And so we went out and did a concert in Petaluma, the Petaluma, I guess, Civic Center. All these places are civic centers at that time. And we rented it out for our concert that we ran with Jerry Lee Lewis.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I never heard that story. That's great.
And I've often told the most embarrassing moment of my life happened at that concert. And what is it, Alex? Well, I'll tell the story for the 87th time, but it's worth telling.
I've never heard this.
I'm backstage. Jerry is getting ready to go on. I'm standing next to one of his musicians, and I say to him, among other things, we get into a conversation. Among other things, I then say, is it true that Jerry Lee married his 14-year-old cousin? Or maybe 13-year-old cousin? And he looks back at me and says, yeah, that's my daughter. Lovely girl. She's a lovely girl.
You have a good show. Lovely girl.
Lovely girl. I think it was I was going to say his bass player, and then you probably would have said, oh, that probably was, Jerry Lee Lewis's father-in-law.
That's amazing. You got Jerry, so you made money.
I don't know if we made money. We certainly didn't lose money. I don't remember losing money on that gig, but I don't think
he was a huge act then, right?
I don't think we made a lot because we had to pay him so much. And there was, in those days, there was only a limited amount you could charge for a ticket. I mean, I know the place was packed. It's all kind of vague to me. I just kind of remember it. When at my age, you look back at something like that, and you're looking down a tunnel, and at the very end, you're hearing what would be your echo, And this thing goes back that far that I remember I did it. I remember that story. But I remember very little about the rest of it.
Did he do a good show?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, he was terrific. Jerry Lee Lewis was always terrific.
He was hilarious, right? He'd be jumping on the piano.
Oh, yeah, he did the whole bit, This was when he was a big hit at that time. He hadn't yet gone into obscurity. In fact, a lot of these guys, if you hired them early enough, you could get them pretty cheap because they suddenly had a hit, but they didn't know how much they could monetize it. So they'd lowball you rather than highball you on it. So anyway, that was my ventures in rock promotion, and that was it. That was it for us, because it was a whole night. We didn't make much money. We made enough to pay him, okay, and enough to maybe take a cab home. And that was it, So
it was successful.
Yeah, I would say my comedy concerts were more successful over the years.
Yeah,
those things I made a fortune off of, at that time, and you guys made a fortune off of them too. So
we all made money. It was a win-win.
Yeah, and I didn't really produce them. My business manager did. He did all the booking and here's how much we're going to pay you. The booking wasn't difficult because it was using our phone book, our friends. I call Bubbles, get him on the show. Bob Rubin will get him on the show. Dana Carvey, get him on the show. Although I never hired Dana Carvey. The only time I ever, once at the
Circle Star,
yeah, Circle Star Theater, and that was a great show. And you say that some people look at that as one of the best comedy shows ever.
Yeah, I heard it was just on fire. So that was right before I think Dana got Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, I think he hadn't gotten Saturday Night Live yet.
He hadn't gotten it yet.
Right.
No.
Right. So you go back and you look at it now, and they go, "Oh, Dana Carvey, Bobcat Goldthwait." Actually, you'd think Dana Carvey was the headliner. But no, Bobcat was the headliner.
All right.
Here's a little quick thing about Bobcat you didn't know. Jimmy Kimmel had his 20th anniversary program, and he was thanking all the people who'd done the show, and then he said, and our directors, and he listed Bobcat Goldthwait, because Bobcat was the director of the Jimmy Kimmel Show for a year.
He was, yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of people don't remember that. Anyway, it looks like we're slowly running out of time. What is it?
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are. I'm looking here. We got about a minute. Do you want to sing a medley of your hits?
I can tell you a little story about Dana Carvey and the Circle Star Theater.
Yeah.
He worked for the Circle Star Theater as a teenager, and he would deliver food to the performers. And if there was some hotel or something, he took some food over once to Michael Jackson.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
See, you work a lot with Dana.
Yeah, he doesn't go out that much. He's got a podcast now that's doing very well with David Spade, but he still goes out occasionally.
But still, it's you're his opening act when he does.
Yeah.
Anyway, hey, listen, we're through with Dana Carvey's opening act.
Yeah. So don't use my name anymore. Just say Dana Carvey's opening act.
I'll do that next time we do this, and that'll be in a week. Thank you so much, Bubbles.
Thanks,
always look forward to this. Bye-bye.
Okay.
This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network, now in its 8th year of talk like you've never heard it before.
Yes, thanks, Bubs. Appreciate it, Bubs. Love you, Bubs. Everybody loves the Bubs. I hope that next time we talk to him, he has had his hernia taken care of. We've been waiting on that. I think when I first started, about 3 years ago, I think I first heard about his hernia. So anyway, that's what we talk about as old folks, How's your hernia doing? The hernia's doing fine. Yeah. How's your prostate? The prostate's shot. Flat as a pancake. Anyway, hello. How are you? This is the show that gets absolutely nobody watching it. I've decided the numbers have gotten lower and lower and lower and lower and lower, and I keep saying, why do I do this? Why do I do this? Why do I do this? And why I do it is because there are a whole bunch of nice people that call this program that I really enjoy talking to. Here they come right now, folks. They're popping in there.
It's absolutely watching it. I
And Jeff has his audio up.
lower.
Yeah.
Brian's got his camera.
Huh?
I still want to play here.
What's she doing over there, Brian?
We were playing some games.
Oh, I see. What game were you playing?
First was Arsenal, so we just killing everybody like madmen.
Oh, okay. That's a good thing to bring a kid up on.
Hey, the game says for 9+, kids 9 and over.
Yeah.
She's only 7, and she sometimes she beats everybody. They have like maybe 15 people, and they have scores, and she kills the most. She's better than me for sure.
Yeah. Well.
Oh, Jeff. Oh, Jeff's doing hand signals now. That's great.
Oh, Jeff is doing hand signals now?
Yeah. Jeff, you're okay? Are you okay, Jeff?
I'm okay.
Okay, good.
Okay. Oh, let's see your picture. There we go. Yeah. How you doing, Adrian? How are you doing, Adrian? Fine.
She she can go in the San Jose's Hammer Theater, big balcony and 1,000 people and perform in front of everybody, and then she gets on here and she's shy.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you something. I don't blame her. People used to say to me, "What bothers you most?" And I said, "Getting up in front of 3 people." Because they said, "Well, gee, you're getting up in front." I said, "I used to get up in front of like 8,000 people, 9,000 people at the Frost Amphitheater. Didn't bother me at all. I just walk right out on stage. Hello, folks. How you doing? And then I go out to the Holy City Zoo, which was this really small club, and there'd be only like 3 people in the front row, and that was it. I panicked. Just absolutely stage fright. And the reason is, I explained to people, when you've got 8,000, 9,000 people out there, it's not like people. It's just this thing.
A sea of
people. Yeah. Wait, hold on a second. She's playing video games, and I know about video games. Okay. So.
Hey, we watched 2 episodes of your Last of Us.
Yes.
She watched it with me.
Oh, yeah.
She watched half of it under the covers, but she watched it.
There's an episode on tonight because.
Oh, really? Yeah. We'll catch up this weekend.
They were supposed to be on Sunday, but they're not putting it on this Sunday, because why?
Super Bowl.
Super Bowl, and they don't want to go up against the Super Bowl. But that doesn't make sense to me, because they're like, you can watch that show anytime. You don't have to watch it at 9 o'clock when it runs. But they somehow want to make sure they get a large audience the first time it runs. So anyway,
but the first two we saw were really good. Yeah, we liked it.
It's a good show. It's a really wait till you see the third one. It'll blow you out of the blow your mind, because it's so different from what you expect it to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Did you watch it, Charlie? You been watching it, Charlie?
I haven't been able to. I've been training umpires, so I haven't been able to.
I've been training umpires. Oh, okay. Sounds like you're in some kind of gay profession there. Training umpires.
It's a lot of work. They don't pay me enough for
Can
this.
you take this? Take my laptop. Yeah, okay. But when the battery dies, you gotta return it. Here you go. Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye, Adrian. Nice talking to you. Oh, she's going over.
No.
That was sneaky.
That was sneaky. That was really sneaky. Yeah. Get the hell out of here, kid.
I'm just gonna hide behind this laptop.
Yeah, right. Don't you feel terrible kicking her out of the room? Don't you have a certain feeling of guilt?
She'll be back in about 20 minutes because that battery is gonna die fast.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Old laptop.
Old laptop. Oh, okay. So you let her play around with your old laptop.
Yeah, I have my work ones, but I can't do playing stuff on this.
Yeah, no, of course not.
But if it's plugged in, it's fine. But it's just when you take it off, it's a HP, the Pavilion, the big one, touchscreen, everything. And then my work one's a small one, so it's nice.
Well, hello also to Josh, and hello to Jeff, and hello to Alan, and hello to Charlie. And how are you all tonight? Are you fine? Fine,
Oh, good, until I heard what Phil said about the big balloon.
What?
The balloon that went across the country. He said, how do we know that the Chinese are not spreading some kind of stuff to kill all the crops? They sent the virus here.
Did he say that to you?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he said that. He said, how do we know? He didn't say it was happening. He just said, how do we know it wasn't? Well, let's see. If they drop all kinds of seeds to kill the crops in the northern hemisphere, they'll freeze to death. It's snowing up there.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing will grow.
Poor thing,
I'll tell you, I am so sick of two stories. Number one story is, of course, the balloon. Okay? Because who gives a rat's ass? I mean, really, all these people on TV are going crazy over it. Oh, I think you've got there's something there that's making noise. Anyway, it's coming back on me. What is that that's coming back on me?
Well,
hold on a second. Let me just turn this down for a second. Bring it back up. Yeah, now we don't have any stuff coming back. But anyway, is watching all these people on TV going crazy over the balloon, okay? And allowing Biden to go crazy over the balloon. And allowing I saw Murkowski from Alaska. There's a new one. It just went over Alaska, and she's going, oh, I'm very upset about this.
we fired it down. We shot it down.
What the hell? Yeah, I know. What the hell are you, what the hell is bothering you about that? It's a fucking goddamn balloon.
Nothing, nothing. Bill brought it up. I won't bring it up again.
Let's be honest about it, okay? When you want to worry about stuff, worry about high-tech stuff. Worry about the stuff in which they're trying to rig our elections or turn off the power grid or something like that, okay? That's a very real thing. But what's low-tech? Well, the lowest tech you can get is a fucking balloon. Am I right, Charlie?
A one-man spy is probably
if I had a chart of high-tech, low-tech, I think balloon would be on the bottom, wouldn't it?
Sure.
Yeah.
That's Phil's home. That's probably Phil's home base.
Yeah.
On the bottom.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not understanding what the craziness is over this whole thing. They're spying on it. To begin with, When does it go from being a weather balloon to a spy balloon? Okay. It started out as we heard, well, maybe it's a weather balloon. Yeah. Now it's a spy balloon. Well, what makes it a spy balloon? Well,
Sorry I brought it up because you're going to go on for 10 minutes now about it.
No, but it had that thing. It was hooked to it,
Yeah.
And that was probably sending back information. About what? Maybe the weather? I mean, who knows? I mean, if they really want to spy on us, they got a space station, all right, of their very own. And they can do anything huh?
That's not what it was for.
Well,
I mean, that's what I tried to tell people last week is, what can you get from a balloon at 60,000 feet that you cannot get from a satellite? You know what the answer is?
Cellular
exactly what it was for. Signals intelligence.
Absolutely.
You do not get signals intelligence from a satellite. You do get signals intelligence from low and high frequency transmitters from a balloon at 50,000 feet. The same reason they try to park submarines and Navy ships offshore to pick up signals intelligence through cables and over-the-air transmission.
What could they possibly get in this case that isn't already available to them?
They can get any communication that they can pick up from any number of military bases or military installations across the United States that send or receive encrypted messages. And do you know what happens to reside in most of the plain states?
Yeah.
Intercontinental ballistic missiles.
Yes, but on the other hand, you're assuming. See, you're kind of buying the military's answer to this whole thing, but you're assuming that they had control over this balloon, and the fact is, a balloon has to follow the trade winds. A balloon can't be controlled. Once it's up there, it goes wherever it's going to go, depending on the winds. So how could they possibly say, well, we want to go over the Midwest so that we can get all these signals from these various things, and so forth? I mean, there are other ways.
They don't have to be directly over them to get signals intelligence. I mean, the trade winds are not that hard to predict. The path is not necessarily that hard to predict. I mean, if you have a decent meteorology understanding, which, the world does, now, they can fairly decently predict the path. And the other thing too is it's not a CB radio. It doesn't have to be within 500 yards of whatever it is to communicate. It can be 500 miles, but it can't do it from China, and it can't do it, from, Siberia. It has to be, decently. And the other thing is
but still, I mean, I think we're making too big a deal out of it. Okay, to begin with, if there was information, right, the information was already disseminated back to China by the time that thing was shot down, because that thing was shot down when it got to the other coast. So it went over the entire country without being shot down. Secondly, I love these Republicans who are yelling and screaming that Biden didn't take decisive action. There were three other balloons we know of during the Trump administration. They never did anything about it.
The reason that this one became such a big deal is because I assume it had some sort of malfunction that brought it low enough that people could see it. Okay?
I'll tell you the reason. You're close to it. But the reason is that we finally had somebody who said, what is this big thing up in the air that we just took a photograph of? Right? And then it was on all the TV networks, and all of a sudden it became an issue of what this big round thing was.
So they had to deal with it. But that, in some ways, is unfortunate and a mistake, because they've already admitted that they knew about the crossing of several others that they didn't do anything about. So everybody says, well, why didn't you do anything about it? Well, and Spycraft 101 says, if I know that you're spying on me, but you don't know that I know that you're spying on me, what do? I let you keep spying, and I make you think that I don't know, and then I feed you misinformation.
Exactly.
So perhaps they let the other three cross and fed them misinformation, and there was no need to tell anyone about it. And then this one came across, and they were probably doing the same thing.
And the
Top
TV,
secret, which
and
no
the,
one will ever admit.
yeah.
And then someone said, "What's that thing?" And then the Pentagon said, "Well, great, thanks a lot, asshole. There goes our fucking misinformation campaign." And now we have to make a big deal about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, the best thing that could ever happen is for you to be spied on, for you to figure out that you're being spied on,
Yep.
them to never know that you figured out you're being spied on, and then bam, you own them. That's just
okay,
like,
but let me ask
we
you
have
this.
an Enigma
Yeah.
machine and the Germans don't know it. Awesome. We are going to win the Battle of the Atlantic now, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, you don't shoot down your Enigma machine. Yeah.
And it's just the way that it is.
I know.
I mean,
but,
if you knew that you were being spied on by this thing with signals intelligence, and they didn't know that you figured it out, that is reason for celebration at the NSA, the CIA, the DOD. I mean, they probably had a party. This is the greatest thing that's ever happened. And I mean, so that's what I'm saying. And then all of a sudden somebody happens to come across it and they're like, well, now it's ruined, you know?
yeah, you send up signals of like, I know, Britney Spears' latest breakdown.
Well, I mean, they could send them
Maybe the
any
signal
number of things.
is why you're getting sugar versus sugar-free cough drops.
The
I'm
Chinese
just-
have been interfering with your order.
I'm just saying,
I think Josh
I'm not
is right
advocating
on,
either
spot
way.
on.
I mean, I'm not advocating either way. I'm just saying that in war, intelligence is always the key.
Yeah,
The Allies won World War
nevertheless, I mean, how can you call something a spy balloon when you can see the balloon? I mean, come on, it's not a
Apparently,
spy.
because you can see it because something happened.
Well,
If three
what
others
happened
were
was somebody took a photograph of it, and then the news networks went apoplectic and thought it was a big
Right.
story.
But no one saw the other three.
No.
No.
But how?
And they're apparently undetectable by radar. So that's pretty decent.
This one was also at something like 25,000 feet or something, and they were
I heard 60,000.
60,000.
Wasn't supposed to be,
They
though.
had
That's what
to
I'm saying. There
they had
was a
to shoot it.
malfunction.
They had to shoot it down because an airplane might hit it. Now wait a minute, it's a
They-
balloon. I mean,
How
if
can
an
you-
airplane hit it, one of two things would happen: it would pop and explode, okay, or it would be bumped out of the way. You know, I mean, but everybody's creating these scenarios which are just incredibly ridiculous.
Well, I don't think that if an airplane ran into it, that's the only thing that could happen. I mean,
Oh.
an airplane once sucked a goose through the engine and had to land in the Hudson River. I
Exactly.
mean,
but that was-
I'm just saying that it wasn't here to take photographs. It was here for signals intelligence, which they cannot get from a low orbit satellite.
That's right.
I knew that as soon as they said that it was a balloon. I mean, I didn't need the Pentagon to tell me that. I knew that last week because
Yeah.
signals intelligence is it's the only thing anyone cares about.
Yeah.
I mean, it is still a low tech way of gaining an advantage. And for anyone who doesn't think so, well, how did we go up and take a look at it? With a U-2 spy plane, which, by the way, we've been using since the 1950s.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think Josh is
Yeah.
spot on. I believe what he's
I mean,
saying.
we still to this day fly U-2 reconnaissance flights,
Well, that I believe too.
undetectable. Well, I know we do. It's the Pentagon doesn't deny.
Yeah,
it. You can go to
absolutely.
YouTube and watch a DoD
No,
video
I'm
where they
saying
show
you're
you
right.
how they land and take
Yeah,
off.
but
You know what I
things
mean? They
like
still
wait a minute,
fly
but
U-2
things
flights today.
like the U-2, things like the stealth bomber and so on have all been created to kind of evade radar and to prevent themselves from being seen. There was nothing that prevented this thing from being seen outside of it being higher up in the air than you can notice it, you know.
Right.
But
Right, but this one malfunctioned. That's what I'm saying is it came to a lower altitude because of probably some sort of malfunction. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't supposed to.
Adam
It was supposed to go over like the last 3 or 4 or 10 or who knows how many did, and then do its deal. But this one had an accident and, got discovered.
I think the Chinese.
But like I said, I'm
low-grade
top
battery.
secretly. I'm sure no one's happy about that. I mean, the best thing that could have happened is if no one had ever found out and they let it keep going.
wasn't Biden kind of embarrassed into having to shoot this thing down?
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah. I mean, by the time
Yeah.
we shot it down, it had done whatever damage it was going to do so far
Yeah,
as
by then.
spying. You know.
But then again, as I'm sure, as soon as it was spotted, well, like I said, that doesn't matter anyway, because they already knew that they were passing over anyway, which means they already had a way to track them, which means they either shut communications off, or because that would look suspicious, they generated a lot of communication that was meant for misinformation or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, the Japanese would do this. They made the mistake a few times of shutting their communications in the Pacific off a couple of times. And that in itself was something that's going to happen. They stopped communicating,
Right.
I mean, then they finally learned that they had to keep communicating with, crap, predetermined garbage, because their lack of communication was in itself a clue that they were about to make some kind of move. So, I don't, like I said, I'm not advocating either way. I just know that since the advent of war, intelligence has been the number one factor in, who has an advantage, not necessarily who wins, because that can be changed, but who can have an advantage. And since the invention of communication that can take place other than, here's this piece of paper, I need you to ride your horse over and give it to someone, since that changed and it went over the air, signals intelligence is this country spends hundreds of billions of dollars a year on it, and it should, because it's the only, when a war comes, it's the only thing that you have, to go off of, unless you have on the ground spies, which I'm sure we do. But they can only give you what they can see, right there, in front, or what they can get their hands on or whatever.
Yeah, but they're going online and they're getting stuff and they're interrupting our power grids, and they're doing a lot of things like that without having to have a balloon to do it with. In fact, you're not. If you were to say what is a covert operation, I think a balloon is the least covert. Because you can see it.
Well, we apparently, I'm sure, did discover them at some point, and I'm sure tried to use them, like I said, to our advantage.
Fed up misinformation. Yes.
I can't say that for sure, but I'm assuming that's what they did.
Let me go to Jeff first. Yeah, Jeff.
I'm curious about all kinds of things, like what's the size of this thing? How does it be organized to manipulate in the presidents of the United States, where it came from, where it's going? And the other thing is, they obviously communicate information back to China. So how do they do that? And how come we don't seem to pick one up and take it home and disassemble it and find out what's going on?
Yeah, I think that part of the thing is that we shot it down, and we so shot it down that we obliterated it rather than puncturing maybe with a needle a hole in it and letting it come down, and then we had the whole thing intact, and then we could do something with it. But instead, we decided to use a $600,000 missile to kill a $10,000 balloon. Okay. Yes, Alan.
Sorry I brought that up, but our former president has turned over a laptop and more confidential stuff.
Wait a minute, you're changing the topic.
Yeah,
of course I am. You asked me to do that earlier. You said, let's stop talking about the balloon.
No, I didn't.
No,
I didn't. I never said let's stop talking about the balloon.
You said, why do you keep
in fact,
talking
tonight I was planning on doing nothing but talking about the balloon.
Oh,
okay.
All balloons all night.
All balloon all the time. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Alan.
And then
Brian.
where did they like initially see this, and why didn't they see this when it's coming over? I mean, was it maybe it was nighttime or something? I mean, why did it take so long to see this too?
I think it was over Montana when
It was over Montana, and now they have now a perfect count of how many sheep are down there. And then
but in Montana is the middle of the U.S., right? So why didn't they see this, beforehand? unless it was nighttime. I don't know.
Walmart batteries died, and the thing sunk, 50,000 feet.
Well, I mean, it depends what you mean when you say they. I mean, the
Well,
government knew it was. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, they as people on the ground. I mean, the government knew that it was there the entire time. I mean, that's what I'm saying is, when someone finally got word that someone on the ground had spotted it, I'm sure that at the end of the phone conversation, they broke the phone and said, "Thanks a lot, Really appreciate you fucking up one of the greatest counterintelligence operations we've had against our number one adversary. Thanks, man. Appreciate it."
Yeah.
Got it.
Plus, you didn't get to see the other side of the balloon. It said Gungay Fat Choi on it. It was like, we should have known it was Chinese. Well, the other story that the press seems to just be going batshit over, and I get tired of this one too, because they know nothing of what they speak, is AI.
Oh, yeah, that program.
They're going nuts with AI, okay? Oh, AI this, AI that. Here's the AI intelligence gap. It's Microsoft versus Google, and this could completely ruin our lives. Let me
We have AI
let me show you how it can ruin your life, okay? Yesterday I put in, give me a 500-word essay.
Oh, you did it?
Yeah, on Alex Bennett, okay?
Oh, let's see what he got.
Alex Bennett is a well-known radio personality, has been entertaining and informing audiences for many years. He began his radio career in the 1970s.
That's wrong.
Wrong.
Yeah, in the 60s, yeah.
60s? Try 50s.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Oh, they were wrong.
Quickly establishing himself as a talented and versatile broadcaster.
Not talented. Not talented.
They're wrong there. Yes, right.
Entertaining. They're wrong there.
Over the years, he's worked at various radio stations, both in the United States and abroad.
You went overseas?
Oh, many broads.
And built a loyal following of listeners who appreciate his unique style and insightful commentary.
Okay.
Bennett is known for his quick wit, humor, and ability to connect with his audience. He is equally at home discussing serious political issues and lighthearted pop culture topics, and is always willing to tackle difficult, controversial topics with intelligence and insight.
Intelligence, incorrect.
Whether he is conducting interviews with high-profile guests, leading spirited debates, or simply chatting with listeners, Bennett is always engaging and entertaining.
Not entertaining.
Of course. In addition, shut up, Brian. In addition to his work in radio, Bennett has made a name for himself as a television personality and a writer. He has appeared on numerous television programs and has written articles and columns for a number of publications. He is also active on social media, where he continues to engage with his fans and followers. Throughout his career, Bennett has received numerous awards and accolades for his work in radio and the media. He is widely regarded as one of the most influential figures in the radio industry. Well,
didn't even mention the sports, Emmy.
Yeah, right. Despite his many accomplishments, Bennett remains humble and dedicated to his craft, always striving to improve and evolve as a broadcaster. In conclusion, Alex Bennett is a talented and dedicated radio personality who's made a lasting impact on the industry and the lives of millions of listeners. His unique style, humor, and insightful commentary have made him a beloved and respected figure in the world of radio, and he will undoubtedly continue to captivate and entertain audiences for many years to come. I'm fucking 83 years old. How much longer have I got?
It's not ageist, though, at least the AI.
Well, no, what happened was I put in, I had done it before, and I probably should have read one of those instead because it was even more wrong, but I said broadcaster Alex Bennett. so that I could identify myself. So immediately knew to hone in on that stuff. Is that an accurate or inaccurate article? Or is it just something that's trying to, can I say this, suck my dick?
Sounds very
Go with
generic.
what Brian said.
Huh?
Very generic.
Very generic.
Yeah, very generic.
Yeah. So how effective is AI? You know, I mean, and they act like AI hasn't existed up until now. How long's AI been around, Charlie? You know this sort of thing.
Oh, it's been around 20, 25 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were working on it when I was still working.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so you've got something you can write a term paper, but all the facts are going to be wrong, so the person isn't going to get an A on that term paper. You know, and now they have AI that's going to figure out if the term paper was written by AI.
Checking in.
Yeah. Yeah, we're working on it right now, as somebody was saying on television the other night. So anytime somebody writes something with AI, immediately we can know it's been done with AI. I mean, what we get are all these people on TV and radio yelling and screaming about AI, and they don't know the first thing about it. They don't know what AI is. They just know it's a term, and that if you put in some stuff, it'll write an article for you. You know, so you know, what I did, I actually years ago I had this idea that I wanted to start a what do you call it, a comedy club, and I was going to call it the Exploding Hamster. And the reason I was going to call it the Exploding Hamster is it's the punchline to a joke, basically, about when you're having sex with a hamster, why do you put duct tape around it so it won't explode? That was the joke, okay? And I figured calling a club the Exploding Hamster would be a great name. So I threw in Exploding Hamster into one of these AI programs that will give you any kind of piece of art you tell it to give you. And I said Exploding Hamster, and it gave me a very cute exploding hamster. That was pretty nice, you know. But people are getting too crazy over this thing, you know. And if in fact somebody uses AI to write an article and then they've got to fact check it to make sure it's correct before they turn it in for a term paper or whatever, then they're going to go through a process of learning anyway. Am I wrong, Charlie? You're the guy who's been you gotten all your smarts in schooling and stuff like that. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, if you wrote something like this, you would then start proofreading it to see if the facts are correct before you hand it in. You know.
Yep. If it's important, you get somebody else to take a look at it.
Yeah. So I mean, proofreading. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind something like that to have a template, like say I want to write an article about GabNet, and it somehow can find out how to best talk about what GabNet is, and then I look at it, and then I start correcting it and proofreading it, and you know, changing sentences and doing stuff like that, and using it as a template. But you know, according to these people, AI is going to be the end of the world as we know it. So, you know.
They're worried about Skynet.
Yeah. Well, you know, you've got Microsoft says that Bing. See, they spent a couple billion dollars buying into this AI company, and they've now put it on Bing, so that Bing will now put out stuff using the AI. You know, when you say you want to find a site about something or another, so they're using it. And the reason why Amazon is now, rather not Amazon, Google is working on their own version of the AI thing, is so that they can't one up them on the browser thing, on the, you know, looking for things and so on. So anyway, it's, you know, that's another story. They're just, I'm so sick of hearing about it, you know. But and now, what else is in the news, Alan?
Oh, sorry. The federal government took some more classified documents from Trump and a laptop.
Yeah, but they didn't go get them. They were told they were there and come and get them.
That's right.
Let's give Trump some credit. Now, here's what a doctor said to me today. I went to my neurologist for my, so I can get my nice happy pills. And we started talking, and I said, so how's the whole thing with COVID? How is it here at the hospital? He said, we had a little spate of it a couple of weeks ago. And he said, but it's not like it was. He said, the shots, the vaccinations changed everything. So that when people do come down with it, it's a mild case. It's not a heavy case. And he said, we kind of, in spite of what anybody would think, we owe that to Donald Trump because of his Operation Warp Speed.
Oh, wow.
And I said to him, well, how's that so? I mean, I think, wasn't Warp Speed kind of the part of the thing that the NEA, or was it, not the NEA, but the... what's the medical FDA was putting into place?
No, the Trump administration came up with the name.
Yeah, they came up with the name, but did they really? Do you think they were really responsible for coming up with the vaccine?
No.
Technology, the mRNA technology was around 20 years ago.
But come on, no. The name is from Trump, whatever. But trust me, every company who was doing detection wanted to be the first ones out and make the money, and same thing with the vaccines.
Well,
These companies just didn't sit there and say, oh, well, we're a vaccine company. We're just going to sit on our hands until somebody starts asking us to do something.
Well, I was going to go into that with him. I was going to say the thing that was the prime motivator for people to get a vaccine out there was money. The motivation of money and profit. But I will agree that by starting Operation Warp Speed and not putting too many roadblocks in the way of acceptance, maybe got it out there faster than it would have, because the FDA, whenever it's time to approve a drug, takes forever. Okay.
Yeah, but same when we had Zika, and same when we had bird flu, the avian bird flu, we already have agreements with the government for doing the for research, for emergency use only. So for us, it's the same thing that we've been doing for all these other emergencies that we've had. So I don't know how many roadblocks were in there, really.
Yeah. But so we can't what?
Injection. When I was a kid, we got polio problems.
Yeah.
And everybody in my school would come downstairs and they'd give you the injection.
Or they make you swallow the sugar cube.
As it came to
the sugar cube became the game changer.
Asked your parents about it? They just did it.
Well, parents weren't running around saying my kid's suddenly growing a third arm out of his forehead because he took the polio vaccine. They immediately had the kids lining up for the polio vaccine because every parent was in terror that their son or daughter would get polio, it was a real thing that the parents had great fear of.
Yeah, every classroom had at least one kid in it that was on crutches with those leg braces because he had polio.
Yeah, or you had to go to a hospital and meet him at the Iron Lung and say
Iron
hello.
Lung, yeah.
Yes.
I have to go take care of Mom. Everybody have a good weekend.
Okay. Bye. Say hello to Mom for me.
All right.
Okay.
Good night.
This means other people can call if you want to. If you don't want to, what the hell? I'm used to nobody watching this anyway, so.
But yeah, I mean, I think to get attention to it and to have the name and everything was good, but I still think that there's a lot of motivation for companies like ours that wanted to do good because we've been doing good, and we had assays, we had detection for flu, so for us it wasn't that hard to
But you got to admit, you have to admit that part of your motivation was greed. That you weren't just doing this because you.
No, it's the thing that we've been waiting for all this time.
Yes, but I mean, you didn't start producing all that stuff out of public service.
Of our hearts.
Yeah,
right.
No, you.
Of course, we know there's money there, but we already knew that's our.
My question is, when we take somebody like Pfizer's pretty much been the major player in all of this. Moderna is not the major player any longer. The last shot I got, I'd been getting Moderna. Last one I got was Pfizer. Okay. my question is, how much money has Pfizer made out of this?
Oh, shitload.
You know, because the government was buying the shots that they were putting in your arm for free. So,
Billions of dollars.
So it was in Pfizer's best interest to get this thing to market as fast as possible, right? You know, it wasn't like they all of a sudden they saved the world. I mean, I'm glad they came up with it. And, you know, Pfizer has that little extra thing now, which is Paxlovid, which if you come down with it after you've had your last shot, this will still ward it off for a while. So, you know, what the hell? Anyway, so that's all I got, folks.
Okay.
You got anything, Josh?
No, what's been going on really, other than the stuff you talked about?
Yeah.
You know, not a whole lot really. State of the Union. I fell asleep, so I had to miss it. Whoops.
Did you fall asleep while you were watching it, or did you fall asleep?
Right before. I forgot because I wasn't watching news coverage to, you know, tell me, and I was watching something else, and then I fell asleep, and then by the time I realized it, it was too late. So,
Josh, when did they start doing State of the Unions like that?
well, they did them the entire time, you know, because it was a constitutional requirement, but not exactly sure. I forget now.
It doesn't have to be a speech, though, does it?
Correct. That's what I was going to say. Was
Yeah.
I don't know when we went to the sort of modern trip to the Capitol, give a speech tradition that we observe now. Initially, they were mostly transmitted in writing. The president would basically just write out, not really a speech, but a written transmission of his agenda and important points and things like that. And they would just,
actually, what all the Constitution requires is that he report to the Congress.
yeah, they could still do the same thing. I mean, nowadays he could send an email and take the night off, you know. But
well, they use it for political
right,
purposes.
So campaigning, and you know, that way, you know, like if you're feeling left out or whatever, you can stand up and be like, "You lie," you know. And then
well, you know where they lie in
like,
every
your mom, bitch, you know.
But you know where they lie in every one of those speeches is every time they give a State of the Union, they always say, "And the State of the Union is good."
Yeah.
Now, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Hey, I want one president who's going to say to me, "Hey, the State of the Union really sucks."
That would be funny if the guy got up. We're in deep shit.
Well, I mean, but
tune in.
you know, I mean, the State of the Union is kind of not very good right now. It's complete with so many problems, include not the least of which is this animosity that's going on in the country politically.
And didn't Phil's girlfriend yell liar at him right at the State of Union? I mean, come on. What's that lady's name?
Yeah.
Marjorie Taylor's name.
He was up there yelling.
Yeah, I watched that on a clip. She yelled liar. You're really
I mean, I don't know if you guys talked about that or whatever this week, but I mean, I don't really understand that behavior. I mean, what is the, you know, the point? I mean, there's
because she has to maintain her reputation as America's cunt.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing, you know,
She
that
gets the Academy
is,
Award.
nothing comes from that's productive, you know. I mean, it's just sad behavior. I mean, I can't understand the amount of disrespect. You know, I mean, Democrats didn't do that with Trump, and I mean, he's the most, you know, immoral person that's held the office, and you know, it may probably ever, right?
When it was time for him to give the State of the Union, you know, yes, Charlie's got his hand up.
I just Googled it. Pfizer took in $37.8 billion in revenue from its COVID vaccine just last year alone.
How much? 37 billion?
$7.8 billion.
That 2021 or 2022?
Well, one article says 2021, but the other one says 2022, so I don't know.
Well, they had costs, though, right?
Yeah, sure. 37.8 in 1 year, and they've had at least 2 full years, 2021 and 2022. So you figured at least twice that.
Wow.
And they're not trading. I'm looking at them in Google Finance. Their 5-year perspective, they're only up 27.7% for the last 5 years. That's not that much. If you're thinking about since I had COVID too, you think they'd be up more.
Since you had COVID, what do you think? Pfizer made a fortune because you got COVID?
Well, I would have thought their stock would have been a little better.
Because you got COVID.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, and they killed my mother too, Trump. I can't forget that.
I mean, it killed your mother.
I told Shecky that. He kind of agrees finally.
What?
He hates Trump. It's funny, Alex.
Yeah. But you got to remember that Trump, the one thing my doctor did say, because I didn't want to get into him about Trump,
I would agree.
is he said, but you have to admit that he said, but then Trump turned around and he told everybody you don't have to wear masks.
Yeah.
And he said he did something good, and then he completely negated it by doing something bad.
That's him.
So,
It's true.
Do you think he'll run Trump? I was just curious. Me and my brother were talking about it.
Oh, he's going to run. He's already said he's going to.
Oh, he's definitely going to. Oh, I thought maybe he would back off then. I don't know.
No. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? I don't think the Republicans have anybody. I think, actually, if Trump ran against Biden, let's say that's the next matchup, he'd lose again. So, the Republicans would be good to find a young whippersnapper who can go up against Trump and exercise his youth against Biden's, well, let's say, experience.
Who would that be?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that if they don't move into some sort of policy, they don't move away from being just about, complaining about everything. I don't think they're going to have success. I mean, I base that off a lot of recent experience. They have not had success with that line of thinking for the last 4 or 5 election cycles. I mean, if they're going to get on the national stage and get into arguments about, banning a book about Roberto Clemente because it talked about how he faced racism instead of, the economy, okay, okay. I mean, I think in a debate, I just let the guy talk and go right ahead,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I just don't know that, I mean, people care about that. I mean, I'm sure there are some people who do, that little itty bitty tiny group or whatever. I mean, but that's not who you need to win a general election in a nationwide, election. I mean, that's the thing about DeSantis is some of that stuff is, I don't think it's going to ring home with people in a lot of the country.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it might, I mean, and I'm sure that he might get, white people in Nebraska to shake their head up and down, but the fucking people in Nebraska are voting for the Republican anyway. So he's not gaining any electoral votes from that sort of stuff, if you ask me. I mean, I don't know that working people in the suburbs of, Columbus and Louisville and Philadelphia and places are interested in, Disney World and their tax breaks and all that. I don't know that that's important to them. I mean, I'm not just saying that because that stuff's not important to me, but I don't really ever hear people that live anywhere that I
but let me ask you this.
Around or talk about this. And these are Republicans.
Let me ask you this. In reality, though, how bad is the economy?
Well, it's really not. I mean,
yeah.
It's overall pretty healthy. I mean, there are some issues there in some sectors.
You've got good low unemployment figures. Okay.
Right.
You've got gas prices are down. Some food prices are coming down.
Yeah.
And yet nobody seems to give Biden any credit for this. Oh, look at the economy, how terrible it is. Well, it's just because things cost more today than they did yesterday.
Yeah.
And that's always going to happen. Things have always cost more today than they did yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Yeah, there's definitely issues that they're working through with it, but it's overall in a good spot, and it's on a positive trend. The signs are pointing toward positivity.
Well, also,
maybe not like exuberance, but it's not looking bad.
If the economy is having problems, why? COVID? Okay. What control did Biden have over COVID? Trump had more control over COVID, and he didn't do anything about it. Yeah. But that really hurt our economy. And prices, actually prices on some things went down. I mean, the price of an apartment here in New York actually went down during that period of time.
Yeah. But I mean, if I don't know how DeSantis will act if he were running nationally. I mean, we'll see. Maybe his tune will change, but gosh, I would hope that it doesn't. I hope he does go try to focus.
Yeah, but do you think if he ran, that the American public would necessarily warm up to DeSantis? I mean, he's basically he's a Florida phenom. Okay,
right. That's right. Yeah, I'm not so sure. And I mean, if they continue to just chase stupidity, like I said, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, saying in a hearing that an elementary school in Illinois got $5 billion to teach critical race theory. Really, an elementary school got one school got $5 billion. I mean, that fucking,
To begin with, there isn't a school in the country teaching critical race theory, is there?
Well, I mean,
it's a college.
She just says this $5 billion went to one school.
But it's a college. It's a college study, isn't it?
Graduate school.
Graduate school.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're not teaching critical race theory in kindergarten.
I mean, yeah, it's all nonsense. But I mean, like these numbers and stuff. Like people are just gonna, oh my gosh, we can't vote for the Democrats. They might give $5 billion to our elementary school. Like, I mean, who cares what they gave it to? I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't get it. And I think that over time, that I do think Biden is savvy enough to make the argument for if they want to keep decrying about supporting the war in Ukraine, I think he's savvy enough to make that case over time. In real debates and in real campaign stops, if they want to keep harping about that, I say go ahead. I mean, I think that he could lay out exactly why it's important to hurt the Russians by proxy. I mean, that's some of the best money we've spent in years, if you ask me, but I'm pretty heavy on defense and intelligence, so maybe it's my bias, but
thank God we spent all that money on our military, because now we have the tanks to send to the Ukraine.
Yeah.
But hey, look, at the end of the day, eventually those tanks were designed and envisioned for a coming war with the Russians. And now they're participating in one, and the fact that
let's face it,
without killing any Americans is bonus.
What's going on in the Ukraine is a war with Russia by proxy.
Right.
And we don't want to get in there. We really don't want to get in there, but probably we should. Why not?
Yeah, but and the Republicans want to, continue to cry about that war and where all the money's gone, and we're only there because he's got some business dealings. Good, keep saying that stuff, and I think that he could easily beat back on that and convince people why it's important to be there. And I think that it's gone on long enough now that there's enough evidence that people aren't going to be like, no, we're being lied to. It's Vietnam, domino theory. I mean, people can see that
very
aggression
seldom
is serious.
As a country, we very seldom do very honorable things anymore. And helping Ukraine is maybe the one honorable thing we've done in the last many, many years. Certainly, Vietnam wasn't a good deal, or us at our very best. Neither was the Korean War. There really hasn't been anything we've fought in the last many years since World War II that was justified. This action is a humanitarian action, and it's justified. And it's the thing we could do and pat ourselves on the back for. But
we're taking too long, though.
Well, of course, it's
taking too long. All these tanks that they're getting right now, they're not going to get them for a few months, and they still have to bring people over here to train and then bring them back. I mean, it's just taking too long.
It's taking too long, absolutely. That's why I say we probably should have been in there, you know, if nothing more as advisors or something like that, you know. But I mean, it's to begin with, it's a terrible, horrible war. But who would have thought it would have gone on this long? I would have thought the Russians were going to win it in a day and a half, right?
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
And they aren't even coming close. They've lost, what is it, 300,000 men?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe he's got a shit army then, really.
I don't know how he keeps.
Yeah, I mean, how are they lose that? He's actually looks weaker now than ever, really.
Well, the question is, how can he possibly, you know?
You know, one thing that comes out of this, he's no threat to anybody else out of the country, this guy. He can't even overtake them.
Well, I think he showed militarily how weak they are.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like, don't even worry about him. He's like, he's nothing.
But he's the kind of guy that just won't give up, you know?
That's another thing, Alex. You think he's that stubborn now that he's that in? Like, he just won't, like, we
all
can't
he
win?
has to do is come to a truce table and sit down and do something that makes it look like he won to his people. You know, it's kind of like what we did in Vietnam. We lost the war in Vietnam, but we walked out of there saying, well, we got out and it's a victory for us. That's what we said.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know,
so that's what he's going to do.
So just give him some face so he can get out of there. But we don't, you know, we're not doing that.
I wonder if this, can his own people just oust him and say, listen, we got to get rid of this guy. He's going to kill us.
Well,
I mean, if military
they can try if they don't mind getting shot.
Yeah, somebody's got to be able to get to this guy.
Or poisoned, or whatever.
A bunch of oligarchs are falling out of windows.
Walk him in the park and just put him out of his misery, really. That's what they should have did to Hitler, and they should have did to him.
But he's telling his people that they're winning. You know, he's telling his people other things.
And I think the inner circle have to know, hey, listen, we're losing.
Yeah, but they believe he's winning because the news operations in Russia are just touting how successful the war is.
Right.
Because they have to do that, otherwise
they'll be shot.
You know, they'll get poisoned.
I mean, they got a gun pointed at you. Are we winning or losing? I think we're winning.
Boy, we're doing great over there.
You know? We never look better.
Just think of how we're worried about Trump. Yeah. You know, people going, you know, and trying to push him aside. And he's not even like, you know, some murderer like Putin. You know, just think if we tried to
that's a good point.
Push Putin out of the way.
Well,
and he thought Putin was the greatest thing since
I think Trump was, if allowed to go on, maybe into a second term, was capable of exactly what Putin's doing.
Yeah.
You know, I think he was absolutely capable of that.
He was infatuated with this guy, remember? Like everything he did was like, it was the best.
Because he loves, you know, people who are what's the word I'm looking for? Dictators. Dictators. Yeah, he loved the guy in North Korea. You know, Kim Jong.
Playing checkers with him.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, his pal, he was talking about him like they were, you know, having sex while he was over there.
I mean, it was so odd. Like, I thought he was retarded, Trump. Was he that stupid?
Stupid is, I don't know if stupid is
or ignorant. What do you think?
I mean, this doctor of mine said, well, Trump isn't stupid. And I thought to myself, and I went, no, but he's deluded. You know, so, I mean, he's not stupid, but he's not terribly bright, I don't think. You know, I think Biden is brighter than he is. I think Obama was much brighter than either Biden or
I miss Obama.
Trump.
Yeah, but Trump and the My Pillow guy, that's a genius brain right there.
Yeah.
Put those two together.
Yeah. That's a
How could you
brain.
break-
That's a brain trust if I ever saw
That
one.
is a fucking shit sandwich I've ever seen.
Remember the My Pillow guy was walking out with all these documents, and he was just walking out. It's like,
Yeah.
It's like this is bizarre world when you're watching that.
You get a document. You get a document. You get a
Yes.
document.
What am I watching?
Anyway, hey, that's it for the week. Oh, it's over with already. That's okay. I'll buy that. Anyway, hey, thanks, Josh. Always appreciate the fact that you come on Fridays and we get some good information from you. Charlie, love having you here. You know, it's wonderful. We're gonna see you a lot. Are you gonna be?
I got one more week, and then I got to start umpiring again.
Oh, you got to start umpiring again. I see. Okay. Brian, thank you so much. Love having you here, as always. And your lovely daughter, Adrian.
go Eagles.
Okay, go Eagles. Hotel California. Jeff, thank you. And thank you, Tony, for being here. Everybody give a big wave goodbye, and I'll give a big wave goodbye at you. There they go, folks. That's our citizen panel. And Jack Bishop is next. He'll have a citizen panel. He'll be taking calls on Skype. If you got Skype, just start it up and then type into it Gabnet Live, GABNETLIVE, and you'll be able to talk to Jack. I'll see you again on Monday at 4 o'clock on Facebook with the with our little gathering that we call the pop-up. And then we'll see you again next Wednesday. Same time, same station in life. In the meantime, as always, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? Good night, everybody. Bye.